This is the Retirement Bullpen with Richard Warner. The team at Warner Financial Solutions want to help you feel confident about your retirement, no matter where you stand. Get more at warnerfinancialsolutions.com. Now, the Retirement Bullpen.
Every January, millions of Americans vow to take control of their finances, but most resolutions fizzle out before the spring. In fact, nearly 70% set money goals, and yet fewer than 1 in 5 stick with them past the month of February. If you're ready to break that cycle and make 2026 the year you truly feel confident about your financial future, well, you've picked the right place. Today on the Retirement Bullpen, Richard Warner shares his New Year's portfolio planning checklist. He's going to cover tax strategies, market uncertainty, inflation risks, and so much more to help you start the year on solid ground. Richard is an investment advisor representative and founder of Warner Financial Solutions right here in Nebraska. And if you're ready to take the next step, you can visit warnerfinancialsolutions.com. Again, that's warnerfinancialsolutions.com to schedule your personalized consultation and turn your resolution into results. Richard, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today, Alyssa?
I'm doing well. Happy New Year. 2026 is here.
Yes, another year. It seems like every time we go around, it's faster and faster and faster.
I'm glad it's not just me.
Man, it just always every year, just like, wow.
Yes,
can't
the
believe this already
merry-go-round gets
happened.
faster. It does. I remember my grandparents talking about how things got faster as they aged. And I was like, no, I think that's just, no, it's a real phenomenon. And I don't know if it's because your brain just sort of autopilots the stuff that you do and have been doing for years. And so it's not as in tune as perhaps when you're 7 and everything feels new and fresh and you're just excited about life. I don't know what the phenomenon is, but I'm right there with you. I feel it.
It's something legit. I remember being a kid thinking the day just dragged and dragged and dragged. And now it's like, it's already Friday.
Right. I mean,
and
my
maybe it's because
10-year-old.
I think it's maybe because you're so involved in things as you get older. I'm sure there's people that it doesn't move fast for because maybe they're not involved.
Maybe.
Life moves faster. People are doing more things. People are busy. I think that makes time go faster. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is either. I'm trying to be a psychologist here and I'm not one. So I'm not going to be able to answer that question for us today. Unfortunately, this is not the Psychology 101 show. So
Right. We'll try to stay in our lane over here.
We'll get
just
myself in trouble.
hypothesize. Well, we are indeed in a new year, whether we are ready for it or not. And with a new year comes some big changes, starting with sort of the tax landscape. Talk to me a little bit about what retirees specifically, because that's, who we focus on. But, people in general, what should we be looking at in a new year with the new tax landscape?
So the standard deductions are probably the biggest change. And technically it's available for 2025. So those of you that are going to be doing your taxes for 2025 here soon, you probably, you receive some sort of higher standard deduction just because for everybody they increase. But depending upon your income, you could qualify for an additional bonus. And that bonus essentially was designed, the thought process was initially they wanted to get rid of some of the taxation at a federal level on Social Security, but that didn't go together with everybody. Everybody couldn't get on the same page.
Right.
So what they did was they created this bonus that really kind of does the same thing for a lot of folks. So as a married couple filing jointly in 2025, 2026, 27, and 28, you can get over a $45,000 standard deduction if you're making less, as far as an adjusted gross income, $150,000 a year, which for a lot of retirees is a good percentage of those folks. Sure. For a single individual, that number goes down to 75 and your standard deduction is a little over 25. But again, the benefit here is you're going to keep more of your money because if you have less of it that's taxable, you're going to have less of it that begins to affect Social Security, which creates less overall taxable income. And there's a lot of folks that are going to be pulling money out this year of their retirement accounts that's never been taxed, that they're not going to pay income taxes on. Plus, they're not going to pay income taxes on their Social Security. So depending upon their situation, could have a tax-free year, at least for the next few years. So the standard deductions are big.
Sure.
This also gives us opportunity as a retiree to really consider Roth conversions. Now, we're at the beginning of the year. I wouldn't encourage you to do a Roth conversion yet, but you may want to have a discussion as the year goes on. At some point, October, November, you may want to look back on your year. What came in for income? Where are you setting at from a standpoint of how much is in pre-tax, so IRAs, 401ks, how much is in non-qualified, so like your managed investment account or your brokerage accounts that don't necessarily have tax protection around them, or maybe a savings account or a CD, and how much is in Roth. You may want to look at that overall allocation blend from a location standpoint of the types of accounts they're in and say, could I get some of that pre-tax money into the tax-free money, which is the Roth? This could be a good year, and the next couple of years could be a really good year, depending upon your situation, to make those conversions. Here's the interesting thing. If you can pull your conversion out and do it at a 0% rate. So let me just use a real hypothetical example. Let's say you can pull $10,000 out of your 401k or your IRA, and you're still in that 0% bracket because of the new standard deductions. And you take that $10,000 and you move it into your Roth. Well, you have moved something that's never been taxed from a 401k or an IRA. You've taxed it, but you've taxed it at a 0% bracket.
Wow.
And now you have put it into a Roth, which has to go in after tax.
Right.
Everything it grows is deferred and comes out tax-free as long as you've held that account for 5 years. So again, 2025, 2026, 27, 28, we have a lot of clients that are taking advantage of this, even if they're not trying to necessarily maximize Roth conversions. But because the standard deductions have kind of incentivized them to do that, why not put it in an account? I'm pulling money out I'm going to have to take out at some point anyways.
Right.
I'm paying zero tax on it now. I'm putting it in an account. I still can defer the taxes, but down the road, it'll come out tax-free versus just pulling it out, putting it in a savings account, creating more taxable income and getting no tax deferred growth off of it. It makes a ton of sense. And you still have access to that principal that you put into the Roth immediately if something would come up and you would need it.
So it's still liquid without the tax liability of being liquid in a savings account.
Exactly. You can always pull out the principal. You just can't pull out the gains until you've had the account for 5 years without tax. But you can always get back what you put into it. So if you convert that 10,000 as the example I used, that 10,000 is available for you to pull back out if you need it. But anything growing off of it, you want to let that set for 5 years. Now, some people may have already had a Roth for 5 years, so they've already hit that window.
Sure. But I think that's a great clarification because a lot of times, of course, we hear when we talk about a Roth, you have to wait that 5-year window. And so people are afraid that their money will be, quote, locked up for 5 years and they won't have access to it. So they're quick to put it in a savings account or in a low yield CD because they feel like at least it's there and it's liquid. But to your point, that money is still available. You just can't take the gains that it's had off of it. So that $10,000 initial deposit that you put in is still yours. It's not locked up for the 5 years.
Exactly. So you're getting the same benefit from a liquidity standpoint.
Sure.
That you would by stuffing it in your savings account, other than the growth portion. But still, the long-term benefit, in my opinion, greatly outweighs the potential of not having access to a little bit of gains in a savings account.
Right. Especially when you take into consideration the tax factor.
Correct.
Well, another thing as we head into 2026 and, we're in a new year, we can't help but have conversations about market volatility and uncertainty. And I feel like that's always an ongoing conversation when we're talking about retirement portfolios. But how do you help retirees and pre-retirees use the start of the new year to reassess their plans? Because this is sort of the new opportunity to create a roadmap for a new year.
So one thing a lot of people forget to do, especially if they're in a scenario where they're managing their accounts or they're accumulating for retirement yet. A lot of retirees probably aren't doing this, but there could be some. What happens is you invest in something with this long-term approach and it grows. At least you hope it grows, but historically it has.
Sure.
And portions of it grow faster than other portions. So if you're heavily diversified, particular asset classes are growing better in a given year than other asset classes. What people forget about is you begin to get overweighted in a particular asset class because one is growing faster than the other. Now, some people would say, well, why don't you put it all in that? Well, because then you're not as diversified. And when that asset class corrects or when another one does well, then you can create a problem for needing if you especially if you need some cash out of that account. So having multiple asset classes keeps you diversified and gives you multiple places to go in all kinds of different markets. One thing you really, really need to do is you need to make sure you are rebalancing that account every year. And when I say rebalancing, making sure your percentages are staying in line with your risk tolerance. And when you're doing this on your own, some people forget this. Or when you're in accumulation, you just don't think about it. Or some people maybe don't have an advisory firm or an advisor that's really actively managing it. They sold them a mutual fund per se, or sold them some stocks or whatever years ago. And they're just, every now and then they'll sell them something new, but it just grows and grows and grows. And it's not necessarily getting rebalanced to match for their risk tolerance. It's always a good idea. You don't necessarily need to review your risk tolerance every year. Maybe some people do, because some people, as you age, you do tend to get more conservative. Sure. So some people might want to review that. There's all kinds of ways that can be done. We have tools on our website that could be helpful. We take you through a process in our office when we meet with folks, just trying to get an idea of, what is your risk tolerance? How much can it handle? But you can truly get too weighted in a direction on particular asset classes. And if the market corrects in that particular area, it affects you more than had you rebalanced. And rebalancing essentially is you're selling a little bit off the top of that, putting it into and kind of evenly dispersing it over the other asset classes to create, again, that same level of diversification that you began with. This should at least be done annually.
Got it. We head into a new year and you can't help but consider RMDs. I know that tends to be something that's talked about at the end of the year, but can also be a conversation for the start of the year. Are you a proponent of take it at the start of the year, one lump sum, or sort of look at it and go, hey, we could spread this out over 12 months so that you're increasing your monthly income and maybe now you're not spending it all in one place, but it's a little more balanced? Certainly it's not a one size fits all. We say that all the time, but generally speaking, what are you seeing clients lean toward?
So it depends upon their situation, kind of like you just said. If they're a type of person that's taking it because they have to, a lot of times what we're doing is we're waiting till November, first to very, very beginning of December at the latest, to pull that RMD. The reason and thought behind it is if you don't need it, you don't want it, you're not paying less taxes by taking it earlier. It's based on last year's value, not anything that happens this year. So RMD is focused on the value December 31st of last year. So this year in 2026, what the value at December 31st of 2025 is, that's what's going to tell you what you have to take out in 26. So
it doesn't matter what the market does all year.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it does all year. That is irrelevant. So if you don't need it, why not let your money stay in there and create more potential for growth off that money?
Sure.
That's one thought. Now, a scenario could happen where you need money in a surprise and you're going to have to take an RMD. Well, that would be a smart thing to do, in my opinion, because especially if you don't usually need it, versus taking it from a different account where maybe you don't have to take a withdrawal. Maybe it's a savings account. Maybe it's a stock account, what have you. Go ahead and take that RMD earlier. Now, you could also be in a person that you need income on a regular basis. So you're just now having to start RMDs. Why not set that RMD up so it comes out evenly? Because you know what the number is January 2nd. You know what the number you're going to have to take out is for the year. Why not set that up so you get 12 equal distributions to add to your monthly income? That might help you out in a lot of different areas. Everybody's situation is a little different, and it just kind of depends. But I tend to be, if you don't need it, push it off as long as you can. That's kind of my thought on it. But
it opens the door that somebody could have that conversation with you if they're feeling like, with the cost of inflation and the pricing of things, is there a way to work that RMD to help out? And of course, sequence of withdrawal is such a big factor in retirement, and knowing when to turn on that spout of income versus this one can go a long way in terms of creating longevity in retirement, which sort of leads me to my next topic, and probably we'll wrap up with this one, but we head into a new year. inflation and longevity and how they intersect, because retirees are not just planning for a 10-year retirement anymore. They're planning for a 20-year, perhaps a 30-year retirement, which is a wonderful thing. It's more time with friends and family and to do the things that you have on your bucket list. But on the flip side of that, we have inflation with ever increasing costs, and things are making our money, it's spread a little thinner when things cost more. How do you help individuals balance the need to prepare for 30 years while also dealing with the realities of the current economic stand as we stand economically?
So you brought up a term that not a lot of people really understand what it means in our last segment. I'm going to use that to talk about this, and that's sequence of return risk.
Sure.
Sequence of return risk, when you're looking to plan for a 20 or 30-year retirement, it can really affect the longevity of your accounts. Mm-hmm. And so we want to utilize multiple buckets. So a bucket strategy, or having a place to go when the market's down, a place to go when the market's up, or maybe we have a bucket designed specifically for income. You want growth. But if you're all out in just stocks, funds, and that sort of thing, and the market's down and you have to take a bunch of income out that particular year, you may think if I get an average rate of return of 6%, I'm only drawing 5% out, that I'm not doing any damage. The problem is there's years where those accounts are down 10, 20, 30%. Mm-hmm. And so you're not getting that average 6% every year. That's over time. So when you take that 5% withdrawal out of an account that's down 10, 20, 30%, you are selling more shares, significantly more shares, to get the same amount of income, which means when it rebounds, it's not going to rebound as quickly. It begins to create long-term drag. So having for example, a annuity that has an income rider on it can be very beneficial in some situations. Having some sort of a fixed account, maybe it's a CD, maybe it's bonds that you can draw on when the market is down. Or having just a fixed annuity from a standpoint like a CD, it just has a rate of return that's guaranteed to draw on when the market is down. But places to go when the market is down to help with that. So then you can also still take advantage of the market. And in some cases, you can actually be a little bit more aggressive in that account and get more returns because you don't have to pull on that account when it's down. You can let it set and recover because you have a place to go. So it almost creates an insurance, if you will, or a place or a protection to give you time, because that's the biggest thing in investing is you got to have time to wait it out sometimes. Right. And if you don't have that in place, if you don't have that in place, then you're kind of stuck at having to take out when you don't want to, and that can create a lot of issues.
Which is a wonderful reminder why it's so helpful to have someone such as yourself on our team, because that's the world that you're living in every day. Is you're analyzing the buckets and which one is going to work for someone's individual situation. So if someone's listening to this and they're realizing that they don't have a teammate that they can sit down and have these conversations, what's the best way that they can reach out to you?
You can go to our website, send us a request, or just give us a call. Call us on our 402-274-9185 number, and we would be happy to have a conversation with you on the phone, do a Zoom, come to you. You can come to our office. We have an office in the Omaha area. We have an office in Southeast Nebraska and Auburn. Just sit down and have a conversation and just see if there's some areas that we can potentially help you out. If nothing else, it might help you ask some questions that you've never asked, or think of some things that you've never thought of thinking about before.
So as we have stepped into a new year, make sure you're taking the financial steps in the direction for the retirement that you are dreaming of. And you can head on over to warnerfinancialsolutions.com, again, to schedule that complimentary consultation. Or as Richard said, give him a call at 402-274-9185. And again, that's a no obligation complimentary consultation. Ask the questions. And if there are topics that we haven't mentioned on here that you want to learn more about, mention that too. We love new ideas and things to chat about. And Richard, it's always wonderful to pick your brain and dive into these. Certainly the retirement landscape is an ever-changing one, and we appreciate your insight on it. So thank you so much, and Happy New Year to you.
Yes, you too.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Warner Financial. Warner Financial is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Warner Financial are not subject to investment advisor requirements. NPN number 7617022. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be considered as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Warner Financial is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Warner Financial. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. IPW provides services without regard to political affiliation, and the views of the individual advisors are not necessarily the views of IPW.